While George MacDonald was not alive during the time of the Inklings, Lewis would go on writing George MacDonald, an anthology, dedicated to the late author. Lewis writes that, "I have never concealed the fact that I regard him as my master. Indeed, I fancy I have never written a book in which I did not quote from him." Lewis would even go on to say, "I dare not say that he is never in error, but to speak plainly, I know hardly any other writer who seems to be closer, or more continually close, to the Spirit of Christ than himself." It is even attributed to MacDonald for giving Tolkien the idea that the teachings of the Bible are, quotations, Christian myth, which became the focal point of Lewis's false conversion. MacDonald was born in 1824, and in 1850 he attempted to be a minister of a chapel, only to be denounced as a heretic 2 years later. Lewis writes once again in MacDonald's anthology, saying, "By 1852 he was in trouble with the deacons for heresy, the charges being that he had expressed belief in a future state of probation for heathens and that he was tainted with German theology." One of MacDonald's most well-known books is called Lilith, a romance. Lilith is derived from Kabbalistic teachings within Jewish mysticism and is not found in the Bible. Lilith, in Kabbalah, is considered the first wife of Adam, and because she did not submit to Adam's authority, she was removed from Eden. As their sources would then continue to detail, Lilith is essentially a succubus, or vampire, who seduces unsuspecting men in the middle of the night. This is exactly how MacDonald describes her, as it reads in chapter 29 of his book, "When God created me, Adam, not out of nothing, as say the unwise, but out of his own endless glory, he brought me an angelic splendor to be my wife. There she, Lilith, lies, for her first thought was power. She had so ensnared the heart of the great shadow, Satan, that he became her slave, wrought her will, and made her queen of hell. Vilest of God's creatures, she lives by the blood and lives and souls of men." An important detail to bring up about George MacDonald was his belief in universalism, meaning that he believed that everyone would be redeemed by God and brought into heaven at some point. In his Unspoken Letters, 3rd series, Justice, he says, "I am not now, however, dealing with the question of the duration of punishment, but with the idea of punishment itself, and would only say in passing that the notion that a creature born imperfect, nay, born with impulses to evil not of his own generating, and which he could not help having, a creature to whom the true face of God was never presented, and by whom it never could have been seen, should be thus condemned, is as loathsome a lie against God as could find place in heart too undeveloped to understand what justice is, and too low to look up to the face of Jesus. It never in truth found place in any heart, though in many a pettifogging brain. There is but one thing lower than deliberately to believe such a lie, and that is to worship the God of whom it is believed." And this is what Lewis described as being his master and closest to the Spirit of Christ. This is completely antithetical to the gospel as found within the Holy Bible. Romans 2 verses 14 to 16 reads, "For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. In the day when God shall judge the secrets of men by Jesus Christ, according to my gospel." In the end, there will be none who can say that they have not sinned, neither can anyone say that they have not known sin, as the law is written in our hearts, and none will be without excuse. If a person is to reject the imputed righteousness that was freely offered by Christ on the cross, in defiance of a all-holy and just God, the punishment will be just, despite MacDonald's damnable sentiments. If this was the man that Lewis had his, quotations, imagination baptized with, as stated in MacDonald's anthology, a lost universalist who was obsessed with the occult, it's no wonder Lewis and Tolkien turned out as bad as they did. And we're only just getting started.